Coming up on the Mindful Midlife Crisis.
I am most looking forward to giving my child the space to express and really learn and listen to what she needs. And also, I'm looking forward to, some of the mistakes. I mean, I don't even want to call them mistakes, but just choices that I'm going to make and things I'm going to say that may or may not, be what they want to hear. And also apply it back to myself when I was their age, the things that my mom would share with me. I'm also looking forward to being able to share with her a lot of the experiences and a lot of the tools that I have learned and picked up throughout the course of my healing journey, and pray and hope for the best that she's going to be able to receive them.
Welcome to the Mindful Midlife Crisis, a podcast for people navigating the complexities and possibilities of life's second half. Join your hosts, Billy and Brian, a couple of average dudes who will serve as your armchair life coaches as we share our life experiences, both the good and the bad, in an effort to help us all better understand how we can enjoy and make the most of the life we have left to live in a more meaningful way. Take a deep breath, embrace the present, and journey with us through the Mindful Midlife Crisis. Welcome to the Mindful Midlife Crisis. I'm your host, Billy, and as always, I'm joined by my good friend, Brian, on the bass. Brian, how you doing over there, man?
I am delirious, but not in a bad way, like in an Eddie Murphy delirious kind of way. Yeah.
Why you feel so delirious today? You had baseball this morning.
Early baseball, yeah. It was Friday night, and I was having fun hanging out with my wife and then hanging out with myself, so I stayed up very late. And now I've had very little sleep, but I'm super excited to be here.
That's good, because I'm feeling good and I need you to feel good, because our guest today is also a feel-good person. But before we get to her, May is kind of a big, busy month. There's a lot going on in the month of May. So on the day that we're recording this, Mother's Day is tomorrow. So Brian, what do you and the boys have planned for Kathleen tomorrow?
More baseball, actually. I'm going to try to take the load as much as I can, but it's baseball. So we've got that a good portion of the day tomorrow.
Baseball is the gift that keeps on giving. Actually, my mom and my aunt, I've seen every Major League Baseball stadium, and my mom and my aunt have been with me on over half of those trips, because like we talked about when we had Tom Cody on that Jay Buckley bus tours, we just traveled the East Coast one year, and we traveled the West Coast one year, and we did the South one year. So seen them all except for Globe Life in Texas. That's this summer's destination, is to go see Globe Life in Arlington. Last week was also Teacher Appreciation Week. Shout out to all of our teachers out there still making a difference during this pandemic. It has been a wild ride, to say the least. May is also Mental Health Awareness Month, and that's something that we've really been trying to promote through this podcast, is the importance of mental health. And then finally, May is also Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month. And just by pure coincidence, our guest today is Michelle Pan, who is here to share her experiences as a teacher, a mental health provider, an Asian American, and a soon-to-be mother. Michelle is a movement and breathwork coach, a yoga teacher, a massage therapist, an emotional intelligence enthusiast, and an always practicing student of life. Michelle focuses much of her work on mental health by sharing her own personal struggles with depression, bulimia, and a couple of major mental breakdowns when she was 17 and another one when she was 36. But for the past 10 years, she has been seeking different avenues to add to her toolbox of practices to better serve herself and others. Welcome, Michelle Pan. Michelle, Mishy, how are you?
Good. Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Absolutely. We love having you here. Here's one thing that I just truly adore about you. So we asked in our little handout that we give to our guests to what do you want to promote? And usually people will promote like a book or their services or something like that. Not you. Instead, you listed a host of other professionals that you want to promote. And you listed authors Brene Brown, Mel Robbins, Dr. Joe Dispenza, Caroline Miss, and
Mhm.
Michael Singer. Why
Yes.
are those authors influential to you? Why do you want to promote them?
Because they have really helped me with my own journey, and it's because of their journey. You guys talk a lot about sharing stories and sharing those stories to help other people, including your own stories. And it's like they did the same exact thing. Dr. Joe Dispenza got into an accident and he was able to heal himself through meditation and a lot of the work he was focusing on. It's the practice. I think what I really enjoy about all of these authors is that they had to practice what they preached. That's what inspired them to write the books and be who they are. It was always some adversity or something that happens to all of us. And mindfulness and mindset and practice. That's why I always like student of life, always and forever, because I'm never done learning. I always have enough. Something I'm always reminding myself is I always have enough. But like Mel Robbins' 5-second rule, I don't know if you guys have ever read that book or heard of it, but it's all about the prefrontal cortex and decision making and choosing, right? It's really in that within the 5-second window with your prefrontal cortex. How do we strengthen that practice is we act on it, right? Sometimes, of course, like we're impulsive. So there are times we need to sit and think about things before we do them. But if it's about getting up, like one of the things I struggled with when I started going through my depression, my mental breakdown, was getting up in the morning started becoming really hard. And one of those things is like her practice is, of course, it's easier said than done, but that's the whole thing. It's like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, get up. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, get up. Maybe it takes like 40 times to do it to actually get up, but you get up. And so that's what started her 5-second rule journey. And then Michael Singer, same thing with him. He talks about the voices, the narrative, and that third person, looking at our thoughts as a third person and observing them. And then also the surrender experiment that another book he had written and shared was about like being able to tap into your heart and being able to discern, right, between being in your head and being in your heart, and how to tap back into the heart so you can create space for the mind. So these are why, Brené Brown, I mean, vulnerability, she really, really she like started the trend on vulnerability, right, with her TED Talks. So, she's been, and I love her podcast too. Carolyn Miss is actually someone who, one of her books, it's called Anatomy of the Spirit. And she also talks about archetypes. She's very much in tune with like the energy in our body and how we channel that using our intuition. And these are all things that helped me break through the breakdowns.
Thank you. That looks like we have a lot of reading to do this summer. So I appreciate you sharing all of those authors. You're also just passionate about your friends, and you're such a supportive friend. And you listed here your friends who inspire you: Venus Lau from Venus Fit, PJ Nestler, Dr. Perry Nicholson, Aaron DeGralis, and Dr. Jen Esker, who's a product of Minnesota. And of course, all the greats come out of the frozen tundra. So shout out to Doc Jen on Instagram right there. So I follow several of these people too. And you're right. They are very knowledgeable. They have great content. And if you're not following them and you're on Instagram, I'd encourage you to follow them and follow Mishy too at Mishfit Life.
Thank you. Yeah, I love them. I'm really grateful. It's, again, the journey that led me to meet these people. I met Venus at a workshop, and then I met Jen through Venus. And PJ, he works for XPT, Extreme Performance Training, and a couple of other places. But for him, it's Gabby Reese and Laird Hamilton's organization. They basically coach breath and then also movement on land and water, all types of stuff. So yeah, super powerful. Aaron is someone... he is really on top of covering a lot of the stuff that on vestibular system. And so that's like the eye balance, all that coordination, how that affects our way of living. And he's been such a huge mentor for me in guiding me. He introduced me to Dr. Perry, and then I took Dr. Perry's workshop. And Dr. Perry, his handle is Stop Chasing Pain. And Aaron is Hybrid Fitness Training. Basically, Dr. Perry is a chiropractor turned, like, he focuses on like the lymphatic system. He always focuses on mental health, but he talks about how stop chasing pain is about where your pain is not necessarily where it is. It's stored somewhere else, or it's below or above. and trauma and things like that, and what we can do to release and move things. So it's all about energy. Anything that has to do with energy is what I get pulled to.
And you have long been in the fitness industry, serving as a fitness professional. And you're right when you say that you're a student of life, because having followed you on Instagram here for a while and having met you, you really do just channel the best aspects of life and try to incorporate them into your own life and into your own roles. And so we like to ask our guests, what are 10 roles that you play in your life? And you said,
connector, friend, daughter, sister, mom to be, dog mom, partner, teacher, student of life, and entrepreneur.
all right. And then so we always ask our guests to talk about what are 3 roles that you're most looking forward to in the second half of your life. And you said?
I said mom, partner, and connector.
And that mom piece is a big reason why you are here today. So we'll get to that a little bit later. Talk about partner for us.
For me, my life's journey, I wasn't in many relationships for, like, I'm 39 years old, and in my 39 years, I started dating when I was 5. No, I started dating, my first boyfriend when I was like 18 years old, and then that ended, and then 21. And then from, like, I'm not even kidding, guys, from 22 to like 31, I just completely did not have a boyfriend or date at all. Like, I abstained from it. It wasn't something that I planned on doing deliberately or anything like that. It just is the way that things happened. I was, like I had mentioned before, I was bulimic. I had depression, mental health, just a lot of things that were basically flooding my life, that I didn't have space for a partner. And so now, being in this relationship and being pregnant, I'm looking forward to all of the things that a partnership has to offer. I know Billy knows this, Brian, I'm not sure if you know this, but so I moved from LA to Denver in October. I felt this huge calling to move after I took a road trip out here in July. And so yeah, I moved out here. I decided to move, and then I met my partner. Yeah, so I moved in October. I literally, July, I took the trip, came back, stayed here for like a month, like traveled across Utah, Colorado by myself, and then went back to LA, gave my month's notice, moved everything within like 3 weeks, and then boom, I'm in Denver now. And I was just like, I'll figure it out.
Move too. That's a huge move. I mean, moving within a city, and moving at all is a big deal, but moving city to city, that's pretty big deal.
And state to state.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't see it that way. I just, any decisions that I've made or choices have always been really like, boom, just cut the cord, do it. So I moved here in October. I met my partner the day after the elections in November. And then I got pregnant 7 weeks into dating. So, it happened super fast. He's 39 too. He's established. He's a data scientist. Always wanted kids. So yeah, it just all happened. And then I moved in with him like 2 months ago. And then, so we've just been doing it. So we've been together for 6 months, and I've been pregnant 5.5 of those months. So yeah,
So you should be looking forward to being a good partner, and as he is too, right?
Exactly.
That should be an important part.
I've been learning. I feel like still like a teenage girl into a young adult, like learning.
If it makes you feel any better, my wife and I dated for about 8 months before I asked her to marry me. And we're still married 13 years later. Best decision I ever made. She's the best partner one could ask for. So it does exist. And no matter how fast it is, it can still work out great for you. So.
Oh, thank you. That gives me a lot of hope.
I'm a huge proponent of just waiting until you've got your shit figured out to like find a partner. I don't think a lot of 20-year-olds have their shit figured out. So I'm a huge proponent of that. And maybe I'm saying that because I'm 43 and never been married. But yeah, I might have an ulterior motive there. But I do think that there is something to, I think there's a part of emotional maturity too. And I know that through my 20s, I was not emotionally mature. And I like through most of my 30s, I wasn't emotionally mature. And like now I feel like I could be in a relationship and give that person everything that I have to
She's coming.
offer.
She's prepared. She's headed your way just because you said that out loud.
I'm manifesting it into the universe, right?
Snap, snap.
So then you also said connector. What do you mean by connector? Talk about that.
Connector meaning just being connected to my child, being connected to all of the experiences she's going to have, all the experiences my boyfriend is going to have, all the people I'm going to be connected with, either moms or friends of my daughter, whatever, whoever comes along. I mean, I love connecting with people regardless, but just connection in such a deeper level than I could have ever imagined as a mom.
And we met with Judy Gosselin last week, and I told her that I think that she's she's amazing. And I told her that I thought that I find her to be very in tune with the universe. And I would say the same about you, that you're very in tune with the energy within your universe and your relationships. And I think that's something that I admire about you very much.
Thank you. Yeah. Go with the flow sometimes. At least do the best I can to go with the flow.
And then, so we talked about you're a soon-to-be mom. You're 5.5 months pregnant. Yep. And you're looking forward to that in the second half of your life. And I'm just kind of curious, in listening to the episode with Judy, what were some things that resonated with you as a mom to be?
Oh man, I feel like I resonated with her daughters more than anything. I loved that she had talked about how she let her kids choose and express and not, try to force them or choose colors that they, for them or whatever, she let them express and let her know by listening to what it is that they want to be around more of, like, what are they attracted to? As the teenager brain, I felt like, those tantrums and just getting snarky and things like that can totally relate. I don't think I've ever stopped in some ways. But I also did really enjoy that she brought up the whole thing about, you got to pick and choose your battles. Your kids can't respond or they'll stop listening if they're feeling hijacked. And I really, really appreciated that because being, I'm Taiwanese, Asian American, and it's like, those are things that my parents didn't grow up with. It was like, you're told what you like, you're told what you're going to do, play the piano, ballet, all the things that are going to like make you more intelligent, so to speak. And so I was more of the, like, I want to sing and I want to dance and I love bright colors and I love to talk and speak my mind and share my emotions. And that's not what my parents, were taught. They're just like, yo, you're going to do really well in school. You're going to get a good job. Your intelligence is everything. How well you perform at something is going to be the ultimate, outcome of your success. So it wasn't until later on, like I had these conversations with my mom up to this day, because her and I are best friends now. We were talking about how we're so grateful that at the time of our life right now in our journey is that, like, we're the closest now that I'm pregnant and we can have these experiences. But she also says to me that, it's because you went and did all these workshops and you brought these conversations and topics to our family, or else we probably wouldn't even think about these things. So I really appreciate that. Appreciate Judy for those like tidbits. I have a girl crush on her, so pass along her info after this.
I will. I'll let her know. I'll let her know that that Mishy has a little crush on you and she'd like to get in contact with you. She's an amazing human being. So it was cool that she was my neighbor all those years. So we got to have all sorts of great conversations together. It was a very enlightening time for me. And that's kind of where I was actually making my transition into being emotionally and mentally stable. And so I was in a space where I could actually hear a lot of the things that she was sharing too. As a fitness professional, I've been seeing you work out while you're pregnant. And can you talk a little bit about how you're keeping your body healthy during this pregnancy?
Yeah, I'm taking a pre and postnatal fitness certification course while I'm pregnant. I also trained pregnant moms to be, and for me, it's been about really taking what I applied, because a lot of the challenges as a coach is, you may not feel the pain that your client is feeling, right? You may not have suffered those injuries or be pregnant. And so for me, it was a lot about doing the research and then applying it and test and retest, right? See if it works, if it doesn't work. So that's been really a big part of my own training journey, is like testing and retesting what worked on my clients, what didn't work on my clients. For especially women, I'm like losing my breath. It's all about the pelvic floor. It's all about, as your uterus expands with the baby's growth, your pelvic alignment starts to shift. So much of what I'm focusing on is how can I neutralize my pelvis? How can I strengthen my pelvic floor? So a lot of those movements and focusing on how I feel instead of, cool, want to look fit and stuff like that. But feeling fit and looking fit are the biggest thing that I learned, was like feeling fit is very different from looking fit.
Is there any of those exercises that lend themselves more towards an easier birth process or anything
Absolutely.
like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Because, one of the things that I really appreciate about the course I'm taking, it's called Pronatal Fitness, is that they talk about performance training. So training for performance, for labor. Now, I have a lot of women that have shared with me, because I share my stories, they'll be like, I'm sorry, there's nothing that's going to prepare you for labor. And for me, I'm like, hey, you know what? Like, maybe not to that exact T, but it's a high stress situation that you're basically going from like one environment to another. The baby can feel all those things, right? So when I'm training and I'm getting my heart rate up and I'm doing all these things, like she feels it. Maybe in the beginning, it feels like stress to her because she's like, what's going on? I'm like moving around all the time. I'm like feeling all these ups and downs. But when she gets used to it, she possibly could enjoy it with me, And so when we're like down for the count and I'm there, like, she's going to be ready with me for it, at least, or have some experience so that it's not all like a shock to her.
There's tons of good hormones released when you're exercising. So I'm sure that
Absolutely.
probably has an effect on the baby, of course.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And your baby's going to have to keep up with you because you're going to run circles around her otherwise. Like, that kid has no idea what she's in for. You are going to run. She's going to be like, mommy, mommy, mommy. And it's like, you're going to be like, no, keep up with me, kid.
You know what I thought was funny? Judy did share, she's like, and this is in that book, the book that you're going to be talking about, The Female Brain, or you've been talking about actually. Like, mommy, like, am I pretty? Like, mommy, like, how do I look in this outfit? I'm like, my boyfriend, we were listening to the podcast out loud, on speaker, like, and he goes, is that just for teenage girls? He goes, because I feel like that's you anyway. I did like a whole fashion show for him when I got like a whole new, like, set of maternity clothes. And I feel like that's what I'll be doing with my daughter. I'll probably be doing, unless she chooses, like, unless she's a tomboy or whatever she is, like, I probably will be doing that to her. I'll be like, what do you think of this?
Does mommy look cute?
She's going to raise me, guys.
Well, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to continue talking to Michelle Pan about the pregnant mama brain. Thank you for listening to the Mindful Midlife Crisis. Thank you for listening to the Mindful Midlife Crisis. If you're enjoying what you've heard so far, please do us a favor and hit the subscribe button. Also, giving our show a quick 5-star review with a few kind words helps us on our quest to reach the top of the podcast charts. Finally, since you can't make a mixtape for your friends and loved ones like you used to do, share this podcast with them instead. We hope our experiences resonate with others and inspire people to live their best lives. Thanks again. And now, let's take a minute to be present with our breath. If you're listening somewhere safe and quiet, close your eyes and slowly inhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold for 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Slowly exhale for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's do that one more time. Inhale for 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold for 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Slowly exhale for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go ahead and open your eyes. You feel better? We certainly hope so. And now, back to the show. Welcome back to the Mindful Midlife Crisis. Brian and I are doing a remote, and I'm here recording from home, and Brian is at home right now. I'm going to try and post on our Instagram page here what this looks like. Again, if you don't follow us on Instagram, it's mindful_midlife_crisis. Check us out, or you can email us at mindfulmidlifecrisis@gmail.com. So that way you can check out this sweet recording studio that I've created here out of a comforter, 3 bar stools, a mop, and a microphone stand that I'm not using for a microphone. I'm actually using it to prop up the comforter. I also got my 2 computers here. I've got my yoga pillow. Yeah, I've got a flashlight so everybody can see me. So it's
summer camp, Billy.
Exactly. Tell the boys to come on over. We can play fort if they want. So we're actually here with our good friend Michelle Pan. Thank you so much for being here. Michelle is 5.5 months pregnant, and we thought, hey, let's have her on here to talk about the pregnant mama brain. And the number of times you said, oh my gosh, my pregnant mama brain, because like this, that, or the other, you're kind of all over the place. Obviously it's a real thing. How are you feeling that?
I'm at the beginning of that shift where more blood supply. So when you're pregnant, a lot of the blood flow, you get up to 50% extra blood. You're making extra blood for the baby. So also your brain starts to shrink a little bit because, there's just, again, not as much blood up there. And there's other things that is being prepared for this baby. But I'm just forgetful. I'll go into a room and I'll be like, what did I come in here for? Like my boyfriend gets frustrated because he'll be like talking to me and I'm looking at him like I look like I'm listening, but I'm not hearing anything he's saying. So he has to repeat things like over and over again. And I have to be like, I'm pregnant.
Use that excuse. As long as you can, go ahead and use that excuse.
And you gotta just tell him I am busy manufacturing another human being over here, okay?
I'm just like, look at me. I'm just kidding. But yeah, no, I really do feel though, I have from stories from my friends and, things that I've read about pregnancy and the brain, I do feel really grateful that I didn't really experience a lot of that sickness that God bless all the women who have in the beginning of my pregnancy. I still haven't experienced a lot of sickness. If anything, it's the hormones, like just not being able to trust my emotions, like not sure why I'm so angry about something or frustrated or upset, and really learning how to channel that and not, take it out on my boyfriends. But there have been times where I just can't control it. I just, it's a reaction, right? I think that there's moments where I've practiced responding to this feeling that's coming up for me when I'm not pregnant. So it's just it's harder in this sense right now because I do have moments where I just want to react and I want to be like, ah, and like have a tantrum. And I get to take a breath and be like, is this really you? Or is this your hormones and your emotions right now? And sit with it for a little bit. So yeah, that's pretty much what's been going on with me.
Yeah, and those are all things that we're going to explore here in this episode today, because this is part 2 of 4 of our exploration of the female brain by Dr. Luann Brizendine. Season 1, we talked about the male brain by Dr. Luann Brizendine. If you haven't listened to those episodes, go ahead and take a listen to those and then listen to these and just kind of compare the differences between the male and the female brain. The female brain books in my opinion, were way more fascinating than the male brain books were. The female brain, as I was reading through it, just is way more complex than the male brain. Like the male brain just wants to fucking fight. Is really what the gist of that book was, and the female brain is way more complicated. And so we wanted to talk to you today, like we said, because you're 5.5 months pregnant. So let's just break it down here. Deeply buried in a woman's genetic code are mothering behaviors. In fact, we can all feel paternal and maternal just through a daily close contact with infants because of the release of oxytocin. So all these years, have you felt this maternal drive?
Absolutely. So again, I'd mentioned I'm 39. My first friend ever, like closest friend ever, that just got pregnant when she was, I forget how old she was. She was definitely in her like early 20s or mid 20s. You know, when her baby was born, that's when I like got a woof of the baby and I was like, ooh, you know, I would want to go over all the time to see and visit Izzy and Michelle. And ever since then, I've always loved babies. I mean, I've always loved babies in general, but to like have that intimate like contact for the first time from my friend's daughter, it woke up that mama bear, like, ooh. As like more of my friends have had children, it's the same thing. Just I'm always like the first thing I want to do when I see them is smell their head.
Oh, that's funny. So the book suggests here that just even the smell of an infant's head, it carries pheromones that stimulate the female brain to produce oxytocin, and it creates baby lust. And that oxytocin, as it's increased, and the chemical imprinting on the brain is what causes the mama bear mentality.
Yeah, I believe it. I always say I wish I could like bottle it up.
I hear a lot of women say that new baby smell is hugely impactful. Like it just moves them to their soul.
I'm just imagining it now.
Do you think it's as powerful as new car smell?
I was just thinking that.
I have no desire to, like, when I see babies, I'm like, just hand them off to that person over there. Come back to me when you're like 16, 17, you're a teenager. That's why I work at a high school, because that's my wheelhouse. But you love the baby stage, right, Brian? Like we talked about this yesterday.
Babies. Yeah, hell yeah, man. If you're watching the baby, you can take a nap anytime you want to. When that baby goes to sleep, you're home free. You can take a nap. You just lay down next to the baby. You're watching the baby. It's great.
What else did you like about the baby stage? What are some things that you want to share with Michelle and her partner?
Babies are just great. Watching babies is fun because they can't go anywhere yet. You know, they're in the crib. If babies are crying or upset, it's usually because they're hungry or they need to sleep. Or they want to be held. It's pretty simple, or change them. But toddlers, that's a different story. I got to prepare you for toddlerhood. Is a little different. It's playing goalie is a close description of toddlerhood. You have to watch those things every second. You have to lock doors. You have to sometimes board up windows. I'm just going to prepare you. You have to lock every single thing, or it will disappear, or the child will wander into the yard and go to the neighbor's house at 5:30 in the morning.
Wow.
Which has happened.
That's happened. So, I hope your toddler is considerably less spirited than mine. How's that?
I'm just like, okay, as you're saying that, I'm thinking about my puppy, and that's pretty much what I've been doing with my puppy.
Yeah, mine rides our dog like a small horse. And we have the best dog in the world. Don't get me wrong. He can do anything to that dog and it will never bite him or anything. It's just the most gentle dog in the world, but they get into it, those two.
If you want to hear some great stories from Brian, take a listen to the Daddy Brain episode, and he has got stories for days about his boys and their hijinks.
That is freaking amazing and awesome and funny, and I'm looking forward to it.
You should. It's fantastic. Don't get me wrong. It sounds like I'm complaining, but I'm absolutely not. I'm enjoying this so much. It's a lot of fun.
You said that you're not really struggling with with smells or morning sickness or anything like that?
Yeah, no, I haven't. I didn't have any food aversions Actually, yesterday was like the first time, but then I'm like, would people have a food aversion anyway to this? Because for some reason I was craving fish sticks, and yeah, I don't know. So I got some fish sticks, and as soon as I started eating, I was so disgusted by them. I was like, ew, what am I doing?
Yeah, no, that's a natural reaction to fish sticks.
So that's why I was like, it's not, but yeah, no, everything's been cool. It's been kosher. I haven't even, I honestly I don't know, not even knock on wood. It's already been past that point. I haven't had like any crazy cravings or anything like that either. It's been interesting.
Usually by month 4, you're able to eat normally, and morning sickness is most likely a purging of anything the baby doesn't find nutritious.
So maybe I'm just eating all the right things, and she's like digging it. She's rolling with it.
I've seen what you cook. You do a nice job. Like when I see what you're making on Instagram, I'm like, oh, like just box that up and send it to me. It looks delicious.
Well, thanks. One day I'll cook a meal for you guys.
That would be wonderful. We'll drive the bus out to see you.
There you go. We can give you a tour of the bus then.
That'd be awesome. Come. Denver welcomes you.
Is the baby moving around and the kicking around in you? We're at month 5 right now. So is that happening?
So interesting. I just said this to my boyfriend. I was like, I hope I feel the baby kicking soon. It's because, and maybe this is not something she covered in the book, because I did like finish the book. Do you know what the placenta is?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the placenta, basically, for people that don't know, it's the organ that you make for the baby. It, like, all the blood, nutrition, all those things get distributed through the placenta. And so when my baby latched onto my uterus, so there's a posterior and an anterior positioning of the placenta. So it's either at the back of my uterus or it's at the front of my uterus. Mine is at the front, the anterior. So there's a barrier right now between my baby and I in that sense. So I don't feel her kicking as much. I did feel like a flutter, but it's normal that when you do have an anterior placenta, that you don't start really feeling the baby until it's much bigger. So like 24, 25 weeks is when I will be feeling her. Hope, like, that's definitely what I'm hoping for. But right now I haven't really been feeling her as much.
That's interesting. I just learned something new here today. So thanks for sharing that.
As did I. And I've heard it described as a flutter as well when the baby's that small. It's not necessarily that you can feel a foot. It's just like a flutter.
Yeah, like she's like the size of a bell pepper right now, according to What to Expect app.
So did you know that your progesterone has spiked anywhere from 10 to 100 times in the first 2 to 4 months of your pregnancy?
Absolutely. The gas would tell you that.
I gave you permission earlier. Mishy said I might have a brain fart, and I said you can do a butt fart if you want. Like that's you're pregnant. Whatever happens here. We're no shame in that
I'm like
game.
2 for 2 with my man. Otherwise, I'm just like, yes, I do know, because that's what it does. Progesterone slows down your digestion. So I'm definitely feeling that.
Yeah, your brain is marinating in that hormone right now, and it's a sedative like Valium. So that tranquilizing effect plus high estrogen protects you from high stress, because your body is having such high stress right now. So the brain has to protect you from feeling all of that stress by generating estrogen and progesterone. So your stress levels are actually as high as someone doing strenuous exercise. You don't feel that stress because those levels up there are so high, and they're there to encourage nutrition and nurturing and safety, which becomes the primary focus, which is why women develop mommy brain and become forgetful. So you can blame it on progesterone and the oxytocin levels that are elevating in your brain right now. So you have a biological excuse.
I wonder if that is actually why she put connector on her 10 rolls list too. I bet you those chemicals had a lot to do with that, because her brain is preparing to bond with the baby.
Yeah, I can definitely attest to that.
And your brain, you already mentioned this, that your brain is shrinking. And some scientists believe that the reason for that is because those changes in cellular metabolism are creating a superhighway. So your brain is getting smaller, and your cells and the information is able to be more mainstreamed than if you had more brain space that it had to navigate. It says here that the 2 weeks before birth, the brain starts to return to normal as it creates large networks of maternal circuits. In that time, you may get bursts of energy, even though you feel like a beached whale. How are you feeling? How are you feeling just in general? Are you feeling, as your body changes, are you still feeling good as far as like how you view yourself?
Ooh, that's a deep question, yo. I definitely have had moments, but this is my like running mantra with this pregnancy: business in the front, party in the back. So I mean, like, yeah, so I'm like business in the front for my baby, right? But I'm keeping it tight back there. You know what I'm saying? So you can see it when I'm in the front. In the back, I don't look pregnant at all. No, jokes aside, I really am embracing this pregnancy. I really, honestly, I'm gonna like cry. I didn't know if I was ever going to become a mom. It was something that I always wanted, and being like pregnant every day, getting to see myself grow, it's like a dream.
Having seen you work with children, like you just have such a maternal flair. And like when you told me that you were pregnant, I was so happy for you because of all the things that you do, and you do so many magnificent things. I think being a mom is what you're going to be the best at, and you're great at a lot of things, but I think you're going to be an amazing mom. So I'm so happy that this happened for you.
Thank you so much.
So I'm going to walk you through here, because I've been pregnant so many times, what's going to happen when your water breaks. Okay. So your water is going to break, and the oxytocin is going to start flooding the brain, and the progesterone will collapse. And that's going to cause the uterus to start contracting, and your senses may become enhanced, and you may start to feel euphoria. So are you ready for that?
Oh yeah. I have a book that my friend got me. I forget the name, but once I remember it, I'll let you know. It may not be until after this podcast, but there's so many pictures of these women giving birth, and they're like, look like they're having an orgasm. They're like, oh.
Okay, that's the first time that I've heard giving birth described as having an orgasm right there. Because and you're willingly looking at pictures of women giving birth.
Yeah, why not?
Oh.
That stuff doesn't make me sick or anything like that. I love it. I've been studying the anatomy for for the last like 10 years. I've been studying the anatomy, so it's part of my anatomy. So of course I'm like, okay.
That makes sense. I operate at a different level of
I feel
discussing
the
this.
same way.
You've been the catcher. You've been the catcher all three times,
the catcher.
right?
I cut the cord. Yeah, and all. Well, yes, I did all three of them. I cut the cord, but it. Yeah, I was right there watching it. I thought it was fantastic. It was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, it overrides anything that you're like, ooh,
Oh, not at all. I mean, I grew up on a farm, so I've seen lots of things being born, I guess. So that may help.
It's like a dream of mine. My boyfriend and I are always like talking about how we want to have a farm one day. We want to have our chickens and like,
awesome. Do horses maybe. That's what we had. Yeah, just horses, sheep, stuff like that. It was super cool.
I grew up on a farm too, and every time I saw an animal giving birth or a cow giving birth, I was like, "What is going on?" Just nightmares.
That's why he doesn't have kids yet.
That's why I never want to have kids. I'm fine. That's why Brian and I make a good team, because he can talk about like loving being a dad. I can talk about loving not being a dad. Do you think you're going to be able to identify your child just based on their smell? Like if you had lined up 10 babies and you were blindfolded and you smelled each baby, which I would be weird, but if you did that, do you think you'd be able to pick out your baby?
I think so. I'm not sure yet because I haven't smelled my baby yet. However, I did, when Judy was talking about just hands down, like without a doubt, she'd be able to. You're with them every single day. I can't imagine. But, I love all baby smells. So like, I don't know. I might be like, that one smells good. No, it smells good too.
You won't be choosy. You'll be just like, just give me the smells. I'm just here for the smells. Like you're walking through like a perfume, the perfume aisle of a mall or something like that. Just give me the baby smells.
Exactly. I don't know. I might just get like this oxytocin release and just be like, love them all.
Do you think you're going to be a mama bear? Do you think you're going to be a mama, like a lioness?
I already am. I am too. Like Venus calls me Mama Bear, my friend Venus, like I've always played that role. And I mean, there's a difference between like people pleaser and Mama Bear, like saying yes all the time. I just naturally, instinctively, like when my boyfriend and I first started dating, and I would like come and cook and things like that. Like I just always clean. If I go to Venus's house, I clean. I want to take care. So yeah, absolutely. There's a difference too between like just making sure I don't become like a helicopter mom, because I don't want to be a helicopter mom.
Got to strike the balance for sure.
Yeah. I got to like hold it back sometimes.
As an educator, I hope you also do not become a helicopter mom, because oh my goodness gracious, they are a handful.
I'm the cool mom.
You'll be the cool mom, of course. Do you ever say to yourself, oh my gosh, that's just like what my mother would do. I'm already turning into my mother here. Or are there things that your mom used to do that you're doing now? Do you like, oh my gosh, I'm totally turning into my mother?
Absolutely. And I'm freaking proud of it. Fucking proud of it. I told my mom the other day, like, my mom is like the queen of coupons. Like she used to be able to, I used to be so embarrassed because, we would go to the store and she would have like all her coupons organized and she would be like keeping the line. Like there'd be people, like 10 people waiting behind her. Right. And she's like double downing on some deals, right? Like
my mom did the same thing. Yeah. She'd get money back for a cart of groceries once in a while.
Yes. Totally. She would get paid for her groceries. I mean, so, but the people in back were like an audience watching because she would crush it at the end. It would be like $400 or something like that, right? She would get so much stuff at once. And then all of a sudden it's like, like beep, beep, like $150, right? Just like, what's your secret? And this is before the shows. So something I've picked up with my mom, like I shared a story with her the other day. I went to go get beets at the store and it comes 3 beets a bunch. And I don't know, I've just been starting to look at receipts and just being more mindful of things like that. And like, I walked to my car and I'm looking at it and it says 3 at, $2.49, whatever. And I was like, wait a second, I was like, I got one bunch of beets, and it was like the beets were expensive. So I ended up, going back, which is something I probably wouldn't have done in the past. And, I got my $10 back, but it was one of those things where I'm just being more mindful of, budget and things like that. Whereas like before I used to be like, Mom, like, who cares? Like, it's just like this. And now I'm starting to really be more mindful. So yeah, absolutely.
You bring up a good point, and it's something that I wouldn't even thought about. So Brian, how did budgeting for your first child go? Like how did that change your expenses, your finances? How did you guys talk about that? I'm just genuinely curious.
I guess I was fortunate enough. I make enough money that I didn't really have to worry about it. So it didn't change a lot for us. So it wasn't a big topic of conversation. It was, we have money, we're ready for this, that kind of deal. It was just like as if it was supposed to have happened. You know what I mean? So I'm very fortunate in that way. So it wasn't a big point of contention or anything. And children are expensive. Yeah. That I will tell you. Yes, they are. But, you just do what you always do. Make sure you got more coming in than's going out.
Yeah, that's a topic of conversation too with my boyfriend, because he doesn't budget. I mean, I didn't really budget as either until recently. I also feel like because this is something, you didn't ask me, but I'm just going to share it anyway. I'm going to be surrendering my career for a little bit. And so one of those things that I'm just being mindful of is my boyfriend and I together, we're good. We're comfortable. We can do this, but it's just, I don't know. I'm just like thinking about that a lot more. Just mama bear survival instincts, I guess, even though it's not necessarily something I need to worry about so much right now, but good for you. Being prepared.
It's interesting that you bring that up because in episode 4 of this 4-part series, we're going to be talking to Krista Margolis, and she is a nurse practitioner, a women's health nurse. And as you were talking about that, it made me think about how many women have sacrificed a career in order to be the caregivers for their children. And then when they reach like the ages of 50, 55, 60, then they have a real calling to do something that they're passionate about, or to seek out an employment opportunity that they haven't had. And so it's just kind of curious to think about. And I think so many of us, particularly maybe men, take that for granted. We don't think about, wow, like my partner, my wife has been raising these children for all these years and really put her hopes and dreams and aspirations on hold for a little while. And it's just, I think it's just a testament to all the mothers out there who have done that and have raised their children. And it's very fitting that Mother's Day is tomorrow. So thank you to all the mothers that are out there for doing that.
Thank you. Seriously, thank you so much.
Momming is the hardest job. I'm not kidding you. It is the hardest job, hands down, with the least pay, the longest hours, but
So worth it.
Pays dividends beyond money.
Is your boyfriend going through any sympathy pains or hormonal shifts? Apparently 65% of expectant dads experience, I think it's called a COVID syndrome, not COVID, but COVID syndrome, which is when they share some of the symptoms that their pregnant partner has. Has he expressed any of that?
I'm like cracking up right away because he always blames like his eating on me. Like on the pregnancy. I'll be like, oh, I'm eating for 2. And then he'll like stand in front of me and he'll like push it out and be like, me too, babe. I'm supporting you. And I'm like, thanks. Yeah, it's interesting. Again, like I'm still getting to know my partner. So it's in this experience and not in this experience. So because again, like I've been pregnant most of the time that we've been together, I do feel like he's definitely much more sensitive to my emotions because he's someone that he's definitely not like an emotional person overall. He's a data scientist. I mean, most scientists are, emotion is like learned in a different way. It's like, what's the data? Like, he'll be like, what's the data? Like, let me know the stats because that's going to move me. And I'm like, all right, like, let me bust it out for you. But no, I feel like he's definitely been just more vulnerable, more sensitive. I don't know if he'll agree to that, but no. Yeah, I think so. I think he's starting to shift.
Well, here's some data for him. You can share this with him. His cortisol may be going up, which is why his sensitivity and his alertness is increasing. 20% of men see a rise in prolactin, which is the nurturing and lactation hormone. Hopefully he's not lactating, but his testosterone might be dropping by about 1/3, and his estrogen might be climbing high. And when you have the baby and he hears those cries for the first time, that may activate those hormone shifts in his brain.
I could see that. You know what? Because we got a puppy. I don't know if people would think this was a good idea. A lot of people, all of my friends were like, don't do it. But we got a puppy, Optimus. His name's Optimus Prime.
Pretty awesome.
I love it. I dig it.
All the time. But Optimus was like 2.5 when we rescued him. And so, now he's 6 months or 3. He was like 3. We've had him for 3 months, a little over 3 months now. But yeah, you can see so much of like his nurturing through our puppy for sure. Yeah.
Are you ready for the 700 hours of sleep that you were going to lose your postpartum first year?
Oh yeah, that's part of the book and part of the podcast with Judy that I definitely did not forget. But she said she slept like a baby. She said that, I'm going to take there was another thing I picked up from her, Judy. Thank you. Making sure that I don't let the baby sleep during the day too much, even though I probably will want to at times, hoping that she'll feed and she'll have enough food to sleep through the night. It's the same thing with a puppy, to be honest with you. We've been doing that with Optimus. You know what though? I've always been that kind of person that I can operate off of like little sleep, but I mean, I usually get my sleep, but sometimes like I get energy from not sleeping. And I'm like, fine. Maybe if it's like a buildup of days though. You said 700 hours, right?
In a year. Yeah. The first year
Yeah.
postpartum.
Yeah, that's a lot. I might end up starting to become like crazy. I don't know.
So
Einstein only slept 10 minutes out of every hour. So it's possible, as I understand.
Yeah, I'll train myself to do short bursts.
if you start having hair like Einstein, though, we should probably have an intervention at some point.
Yeah, the sleep deprivation was largely responsible for the hair. That's, yeah.
So dopamine and oxytocin are released when you see your baby. So the first time you and your partner see your baby, those two things are going to increase, and it's going to actually decrease your anterior cingulate cortex, which is your judgment hormone. And it's going to create that bond between you and your child. But you may find that because you have such a bond with your child, you may not want or need sex, because the closeness that you feel during breastfeeding or holding your child releases enough oxytocin and dopamine that are also associated with sex. Be prepared for that, or maybe he should be prepared for that. and
well, where in between, am I going to be like, all right, babe, let's get it on, you know? I'll be like, I'll have like I'm going to have to figure something out. I'll be like, I'm just kidding, but it'd be funny, right? I'm like, okay, let me breastfeed real quick. All right, let's go. Spread the legs.
We're good. I'm still feeling it. Go, go, go. It's go time.
I'm curious, to be honest with you. Like, I am really, really like curious about what that's going to be like. I mean, hopefully I have a vaginal birth. But you know, it takes time to recover. They say like you're not supposed to have sex for like the first 6 weeks. So
oh yeah, it takes a long time. It's like having major surgery. I mean, it does take a lot of time to heal.
So I think the book, in the book, she's like having something the size of a watermelon come out the size of a nostril or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
That sounds uncomfortable.
So yeah, who wants to have sex after hearing that?
Oh,
if men had to give birth, let's just face it, it wouldn't happen. We'd be like, no way, we're such wusses when it comes to this stuff. And you ladies just do it with grace and power, and good on you guys. Cause I don't know if I could do it. I would be terrified to go through that process, but you guys just pull it off amazingly. So
that's the plan.
Obviously, you and your boyfriend are going to play integral roles in raising your daughter. I'm just curious, do you have like a village of friends? Do you have a support system locally around you who will also foster and nurture a loving atmosphere for your child?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I know I may have just moved from LA, where a huge part of my community is, but I'm so grateful. Like, my old roommate, the woman I was living with before, her name's Lizzie. She has a 10-year-old son. Like, she's been my like doula through this whole thing. She was the first person that found out I was pregnant, and she just took action right away when that test said pregnant. You know, she was able to help me even to the point of the specific day of when I conceived. So she's got so much experience, and because she's a mom, she's got so many mom friends that I got to meet and have gotten to become friends with as well. So I feel really supported, definitely. And I feel really supported too, you know, even from a distance, from all my friends.
Those mom groups are fantastic, and my wife has found value in every single one of them. And they just, it's a lot of good people that come together with the best intentions. So, I mean, join those as many as you can. It's worked really well for my wife.
Thank you. Yeah, they have like women's circles at the obstetrics and gynecology place that I go to. I actually was even thinking to see if there's any like possibility to work with them as, you know, a practitioner. Yeah, I'm really grateful. I met like a mom friend in the elevator. Like my third appointment, I was like talking to my brother on the phone and I was losing my breath. I'm like, man, I can't breathe. And she knew I was going up to the 4th floor. So she left me a note before she left because I was in the doctor's office, and I just was at her place last week, and we get to talk about so many things, not just being pregnant, but just partner stuff, like just the changes that our partners are going through. And it's not, in a way to gossip or talk shit about our partner. It's to really like elevate our relationships, because that's what we want, right? This isn't like, teenage brain where we're trying to like connect with the guy, and the guy's like, I just want to go masturbate and I just want power. It's like, no, we want to be, as powerful together as we possibly can be. So
we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to continue talking to our good friend Michelle Pan about the pregnant mama brain. Thank you for listening to the Mindful Midlife Crisis. Thanks for listening to the Mindful Midlife Crisis. We will do our best to put out new content every Wednesday to help get you over the midweek hump. If you'd like to contact us, or if you have suggestions about what you'd like us to discuss, feel free to email us at mindfulmidlifecrisis@gmail.com or follow us on Instagram at mindful_midlife_crisis. Check out the show notes for links to the articles and resources we reference throughout the show. Oh, and don't forget to show yourself some love every now and then too. And now, back to the show. Well, ladies and gentlemen, crawling around in the background there, trying not to be seen, is the one and only Kathleen. Brian, get Kathleen on the microphone here for us. Let's get her to give some tips to Mishy here, some mama tips. Get in here, Lean!
What's up?
What's up, girl?
I'm not prepared.
Happy Mother's Day to you, Lean. Lean, this is Mishy. Mishy, this is Lean.
hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I love your shirt. I love tie-dye. Yes, girl.
So Mishy is
Thank
5.5 months pregnant, and just wondering what, look at her, look at that belly. Just wondering what's some new mama advice that you have for Mishy?
I mean, everyone, of course, says like sleep when the baby sleeps, and it's true. But then for me, there's times where I'd be like, okay, what can I get done during this 1 hour nap? Like all of a sudden your mind is like, I need to do this and I need to do this. And I still am the parent that like, if we have a rough night or if I'm like really tired one day and then the kids go to bed, even though I know I should go to bed early, I stay up because like, that's my only time at the end of the day for like quiet. Like sometimes I look at Brian and I'm like, don't touch me. I've been touched all day and I just want to sit on the couch and not have another human contact me right now.
I could see that. You need some space, girl.
Oh, I mean, no, motherhood is fantastic, but like, yeah, like take advantage of like your own space, carve out that time for you. It isn't necessarily sleeping when the baby sleeps, because if you're like me, you're thinking of all the things you should be doing during the day, but like, it's also so important just carve out that little bit of time for you, whether it's like going to get coffee with a friend or going to a workout class or going and sitting in your car in silence, like overlooking one of our lakes. Like sometimes I do like, sometimes I just get a coffee and sit in the car and like have no noise around me. It just kind of helps you to like ground yourself a little bit.
It's like a little meditation practice right there. I definitely.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think I could sleep when the baby's sleeping. I've always been one of those people where if I'm supposed to be doing something when someone is, like I can't do it. I gotta but I think I could really follow you on that, like taking that time to when the baby is sleeping, maybe doing something that's going to help me for the next day or something else. So I appreciate that. Well, I have so much respect for you and Brian, and to have 3 kids. Wow. And then to decide to have another one. I mean, I can't do the math right now, but between 4, 9, and 11.
So the 11-year-old was super easy, baby. And we thought, this is a breeze. Like, we've got this. Let's have another. Their babies are easy. And then the 9-year-old came along and he like never slept. Like I spent the first year sleeping in the recliner in his room because he only slept if he was on me. So I just eventually gave in and would like put pillows around my arms and just like let him sleep on my chest. So then he was a good, like, we're not having another child right now. We can only handle, these guys. And then the 4-year-old was, I call him our bonus baby. So he was not necessarily planned ahead of time, but he's a wonderful addition to our family. Yeah.
You're never going to call them a mistake.
No, that's why he's a bonus.
Exactly. I like that.
And he's a lot of extra, is based on what I'm hearing from the stories. He's a lot of extra.
Last podcast, like the 2 kids versus the 4-year-old is like, he's like the wild one, the wild child.
Yeah. He is. One of the only people that can keep him in control is our neighbor. So he's outside playing with her right now. I'm like, watch Ben. He'll do anything she says.
That's so hilarious.
Yeah, he's a wild child.
Lean, Mishi is a fitness professional, so maybe you two should follow each other on Instagram. Lean, how much weight did you lose?
Over 50.
Wow.
Yeah.
When? Like how?
Probably started like 2 years ago. I had this realization that blaming motherhood on not taking care of myself wasn't working. So I got it back under control.
How did you, what were your first steps? Like, how did you, realizing that and then
realizing that and stop eating the peanut butter and jelly crusts and the extra goldfish on the plates, like those little extra bites, and then just getting back into cooking healthy meals, which is what I used to do, what my family did, like how I grew up. But then it was just so easy, like to get out of that habit when I was adjusting to little kids and being a young mom. So yeah, I had kind of let myself get out of that habit and realized a couple of years ago that it wasn't working and I had to get back into it. So
wow.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us, Kathleen. We really appreciate it. Thanks for your insights.
You're like a natural in that space, girl.
I'm like trying to duck behind you guys.
She goes from, I can't do it. So she's like, and she
yeah, let's start our own show, Kathleen. Brian's boring.
All right, yeah, you're probably better than me. I set a pretty low bar.
All right, I'm gonna give it back over to Brian. It was nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Thank you so
Bye,
much.
Lean.
You're welcome. Bye.
Oh, now I know why you fell in love with her and asked her to marry you 7 months after y'all met.
See, it was a pretty easy decision.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that your Taiwanese heritage and culture is important to you. Can you talk about how your parents' experiences have prepared you for your own parenting experiences?
So basically being American, Asian American, and first generation, it's been a lot of me being the first of a lot of experiences for my parents. So, my parents are from Taiwan, and my dad got an opportunity to move to Texas when he's an engineer. His company expanded into the US for just a special project that was supposed to be for 2 years. So they already had my brother. My brother was 3 years old. And so they moved here into Texas first. And then I was born after they offered my dad basically a position to stay indefinitely. And growing up Taiwanese, I got to go back to Taiwan like every summer. So much of the culture, because my mom didn't speak English very well either. And my dad was traveling all the time. It's like, I just straight up grew up speaking Taiwanese. I had a hard time actually learning English when I started to go to school. And for me, emotions and being able to talk about my feelings was something that I always felt really natural about to do and say. And for my parents, it wasn't natural for them. So it's definitely, has been such an eye opener for our whole family, as I'm going to become a mom now, to be more forward about just really talking about what's going on in our minds and sharing what's going on in our hearts. And so, yeah, that's a big part of the shift and the change that I would like to inspire in my family moving forward. And also like going back. Every time I get to go back to Taiwan, because I got to go back fairly a lot when I was young, in my, when I was a toddler, and then when I was also a teenager, and then young adult. And then I was just there, I was there for my aunt in September before the virus hit. I've been bringing out conversations and asking my family questions, and it's been really cool. I think we're entering a time where vulnerability and talking about your feelings is much more acceptable, especially lately with all of the API hate stuff happening. So even though it kills me to see a lot of people being attacked for no reason, just for being Asian, it's also creating something bigger than just that. And it's really shifting a huge generational, cultural gap of not being able to do that, not being able to talk about your feelings. And that's pretty much what I've been really, really appreciative of. And that's what I've experienced growing up, first generation Asian American.
And within that, then how do you help your daughter navigate all those cultural experiences and those cultural opportunities?
Yeah, that is something, I honestly, I tell my boyfriend this. I've mentioned it a few times to him now. Like, my daughter is going to be, 50% Taiwanese, Asian American. And I want to be able to hopefully provide those experiences for her, like taking her back to Taiwan and showing her part of, her culture. And also, like, when she's a baby, like, I want to teach her how to speak. She's never, not never, but she may not speak as fluently as I have been able to, because that was the first language spoken to me. Like, I knew that language because my mom taught me, because that's all she spoke to me in. But I do want to, just like you guys were talking about sign language with Judy, it's like I want to be able to throw in some words and along with the sign language so that she'll have that.
When your baby's doing sign language with you, it is one of the coolest things in the whole world, because it's the first time you're really like communicating as a person with your baby. So it is really special. I enjoyed that part of it too, because then you feel like you're being more attentive to their needs too. I'm like, oh, I know what the baby wants. I can do this. Yeah. So it's really cool.
It's so cute when they're like,
more. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Mishi, we're going to get you out on this question here. What is it that you are most looking forward to as being a parent?
I am most looking forward to giving my child the space to express and really learn and listen to what she needs. And also, I'm looking forward to some of the mistakes. I mean, I don't even want to call them mistakes, but just choices that I'm going to make, and things I'm going to say that may or may not, be what they want to hear, and also apply it back to myself when I was their age, and the things that my mom would share with me. I'm also looking forward to being able to share with her a lot of the experiences and a lot of the tools that I have learned and picked up throughout the course of my healing journey, and pray and hope for the best that she's going to be able to receive them. And also, I'm just looking forward to her first everything, and the first everything with my partner and I, with her. And a lot of the things that I'm looking forward to, I don't even know if I can necessarily even share and say, because I have no idea, So I'm looking forward to the future.
Do you have any possible name choices picked out right now yet, or not? You got to have some, because you keep saying she. I'm just curious.
Yes, I do. So something that came up for me so I'm all about like intuition and things like that. And I picked up that it was a girl like a week after I found out I was pregnant. I didn't want to bank on it, but I was pretty sure. I didn't want to attach myself to that. And then grace is a word that has been with me and has just, I'm a believer, and I have the word tattooed on my arm. So the name that came up was Liv, Liv. So, and then everyone's like, oh, Olivia. I'm like, no, just Liv. Because the meaning of life. And then Gracelyn is her middle name. So Liv Gracelyn, and my boyfriend's last name is Funk. Liv Gracelyn Funk.
I like that. I like that a lot. That's a great name.
Whether she's Liv Funk or Grace Funk, I really, that just came up.
I love it.
Unless something happens at the, and like, I can't not attach, but I mean, that's what she's been to me. So I've just been talking to her like Liv.
Well, I know you can't wait to be a mom, and I can't wait for you to be a mom. I know that you are just going to be an amazing mom, and I am so looking forward to seeing your journey continue on through your pregnancy and through the infant stage and the toddler stage and the little girl stage and the teenage girl stage, and so many experiences that you get to experience with your partner and your little girl as she comes here. So happy first Mother's Day to you, Mishy.
Thank you, Uncle Billy and Uncle Brian.
You're absolutely welcome. We appreciate you sharing your story with us. For Mishy, for Brian, this is Billy. Thank you for listening to the Mindful Midlife Crisis. May you feel happy, healthy, and loved. Take care, friends. Thank you for taking the time to listen to the Mindful Midlife Crisis podcast. We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. If this episode resonates with you, please share it with your family and friends. We will do our best to put out new content every Wednesday to get you over the midweek hump. If you want episodes to be downloaded automatically to your phone each week, all you need to do is hit the check mark, subscribe, like, or follow button, depending on what podcast format you're using. While you're at it, feel free to leave our show a quick 5-star review with a few kind words so more people like you can easily find our show. If you're really enjoying the show and you want to help us out, feel free to make a donation to www.buymeacoffee.com/MMC podcast. That's www.buymeacoffee.com/MMC podcast. You can also access the link in our show notes. We use the money from these donations to pay whatever expenses we incur from producing the show, but ultimately, we record this show for you. So if you keep listening, we'll keep recording and releasing new episodes each week regardless. If you'd like to contact us, or if you have suggestions about what you'd like us to discuss on future episodes, feel free to email us at mindfulmidlifecrisis@gmail.com or follow us on Instagram at mindful_midlife_crisis. Be sure to check out the show notes for links to the articles and resources we reference throughout the show. Thanks again for listening. May you feel happy, healthy, and loved.